Is there anything that can brighten a drab winter's day more than a bright, cheery red cloak? I don't think so. Which is good, my friends, because it is that time of the year where you want to dress up like a human burrito and sit by the fire with your book and your bunny slippers, contemplating why you ever complained about the summer heat while drinking something so hot it scalds the roof of your mouth. I think it's time we brighten it up in here. Red cloaks were ubiquitous in the 18th and 19th centuries. Because it was easy to fit a number of body types, these could be sold ready to wear. And you could basically wear your red cloak over any color that you wanted. It didn't matter if it clashed or not. This project is super easy, super fast, and a really great project for a beginner who wants to dip their toes into drafting. Also, for the record, I love being a human burrito, and I'm totally happy with it being cold and rainy out if I don't have to leave my house. Building the pattern for this cape is one of those things that sounds really complicated, but in practice is not complicated at all. You only need 2 measurements to complete it. One measurement you need is the width of your neckline. For me, that's going to be 26 inches because I want it to be kind of wide on my shoulders and not super close to my neck because I don't like things tight on my neck. Then you need to measure the length of your cape. Hold the measuring tape where you want the neckline to be and then measure down over your shoulder to where you want it to stop. Once you have your measurements, you need to do a tiny bit of math, but don't be afraid because you have the world's most powerful calculator at your fingertips. To get the size of the neckline, you need to take your neckline measurement, for me that's 26, and divide it by pi. That's 3.14. For me, that's 8.28 inches. So we'll say 8 1/4. Now we're going to take that measurement and apply it to the corner of our paper. My measurement is 8.25 inches. Start on one side and make radial marks out from the corner that distance around toward the other side of the paper. There's your neckline, folks. Now we're going to take our length measurement and measure down that distance from the neckline in the same fashion from one side of the paper to the other. Connect the dots, la 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 la. There you go, you've drafted the body of your cloak. It's that easy. I tested the length just to be on the safe side. Depending on which era you're doing, the hood size is going to vary. This particular one is for the later half of the 18th century, where the hair was extra. So this thing is going to have a super huge hood. You will want to adjust the size of the hood to suit your hairstyle and your noggin. On a fresh piece of paper, draw an 18-inch square. In one corner, mark 6 inches down on one side and 4 inches down on the other. Draw a diagonal line between these points. This is your hood pattern. See, I told you it was simple. So the fabric we're using for the cape itself is this really pretty 100% wool crepe. I got this from Jess at Penny River Costumes. If you follow her on Instagram, every once in a while she does like this huge getting rid of weird cuts of fabric sale. You can get some really good things for really reasonable prices. This was like 1 yard and 20 inches or some kind of weird cut like that, and paid 30 bucks for it, which is not bad for 100% wool. It's very lightweight, very swishy. It'll be really great for a lightweight cape for a hot place. Originally, I think it came from Burnley and Trowbridge, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Normally you would want to use a heavier weight wool than this crepe that I'm using, like a wool coating or a wool broadcloth that isn't going to fray as much, especially if you don't live in Satan's armpit. Typically, only the hood of these things were lined and the rest were left unlined. I picked up a little bit of silk dupioni from Silk Baron. This is black cherry, so it is a garnet red shot with black. I thought that would give it a little bit of depth. Even though it's reading bright scarlet on camera, the cape fabric itself is more of a deep cranberry color in real life, which is kind of a hard red to match. So I thought with this being like a shot red, it would give it some depth and kind of match without looking like I was trying to be matchy-matchy. Here's my cutting layout. I've arranged it so that my center front is along the selvage, but this means that I'm going to need to piece the lower corner of the cloak. Oh well. Notice that the back of the cloak is 3 inches away from the fold. You want to have this extra fabric to gather it to give it a little extra fullness, since this is only a half circle cape. Believe it or not, that was really the most difficult part of the entire process. So let's get her on the table and start assembling the cloak together. Both these fabrics fray really bad, so the first thing I did was, serge all of the raw edges. The next hardest part of this is going to be the hood, so we'll deal with that first, and the body of the cloak can be the last thing we do. None of the instructions described this portion well, so I'm going to try and break it down as comprehensively as I can. There are 2 straight edges here, here, and there are 2 shorter edges on a diagonal here and here. This edge, this is the center front of the hood. This edge, this other straight edge, this is the top of the hood. The shorter edge, in other words, this edge here where we cut 6 inches, this portion is going to be gathered into the fan pleats. This longer edge here, where we only cut 4 inches from the corner, this is the neckline. We're going to bag line the hood. Start by pinning and sewing the diagonal edge of your lining, as well as the top seam. Repeat the process for the fashion fabric. Now that those seams are sewn, tuck your lining inside of your fashion fabric with wrong sides together. Now work your way through the outside edge of the cloak, tucking raw edges under and pinning the fabrics together. I recommend you iron the edges under and then pin, unlike what I'm doing here. This crepe in particular isn't taking the iron very well, and the crease isn't sticking. So I got frustrated and I'm just eyeballing it, but I wouldn't do that with any other fabric. Hand sew the seam shut. Repeat the process for the back edge, which is going to get gathered into the pleats. Now, we have something that almost looks like a hood. So the back is open, this is the front. Ta-da! But now we have to do the really hard part, which is the fan pleating in the back. Also, I went ahead and hemmed the bottom of the cloak as well as the sides. That's boring, that's not good content, it's done. I have marked every inch with a dot. We are going to baste the very edge on the dot. Essentially what we're doing is creating very large cartridge pleats. Moment of truth. Cross your fingers. Victory is mine! Ha ha ha! If you're finding this video helpful or entertaining, please consider hitting the like button and saying hello in the comments. This really helps get this video out to people like you. I also want to say a huge thank you to all of my supporters over on Ko-fi. If you would like to help support this channel financially, I've linked down in the comments as always. Not expected, but always appreciated. Back tack through the lining to secure your pretty stitches. I just love the way that looks, don't you? Now we're going to further secure our work by sewing through the very tops of every single pleat on the inside. Now all we need to do is attach the hood to the cape and we're done. Yay! Run a set of gathering stitches along the 6 inches extra space we made in the center back. Now you should have only one open edge of your hood, the neckline. Pin the center back of your hood to the center back of your cloak, making sure to only secure the fashion fabric and not the lining. Pin the outer edges of the cloak to the outer edges of the hood. Pull up your gathering stitches to fit and pin the rest of the way. Repeat for the other side. Sew your hood to your cape, leaving the lining free. Now we'll cover up the raw edges on the inside. Iron your seam allowances up toward the hood. Fold your lining seam allowances up and pin over the other seam allowances. The last thing to do was to make some ties. I zipped these together and sewed them at the top of the neckline. Alternatively, you can add thin little loops like I did here on my embroidered mage's cloak. Then you can use a coordinating ribbon or brooch to fasten it together. I have a confession to make. Even though this is an 18th century cloak, I actually made it to dress up as this guy. A bunch of my friends and I all dressed up as characters from the Disney animated Robin Hood to wear to the Texas Renaissance Festival last fall. My intention was to take you along with me instead of a traditional reveal, but since I couldn't bring my video camera, I had to do a lot of the filming on my phone, and I only realized when I was editing this that the setting I used to film on my phone isn't compatible with my editing software without the expensive paid version, which means that the colors are really weird. However, some of it is priceless. And I think quite a few of you will get a huge kick out of it, especially since there were a lot of us and we did end up winning first prize in the costume contest. So I'm still gonna put it in after the pretty shots for those of you who want to see me get chased by a thumb-sucking lion and an angry hen with a badminton racket. That's about it for me. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more cozy cloak content, you can check out this video here where I hand embroider the most fabulous mage's cloak. Thanks for watching, I love y'all, and I'll catch you in my next video.